Welcome to part 3 of the Sales Master series video. What you're trying to learn and understand is the various products of Imaticus Game Studio. In part 1 and part 2, we looked at doing a little bit of client research before the call, understanding where the client comes from, and more importantly, in part 2, we looked at the two important facets of what we do at Imaticus, which is understand products and services. In part 3 of the video, we would deep dive on products, understand a little bit about the products and what kind of needs that it solves for various clients, and how do we really present and articulate the various offerings that we have. So what I'm trying to do is to, in this part, I would actually be presenting this video in a manner that I would typically present to a client, which means you would be viewing this entire video as though I'm presenting to a client, and it would help you understand and articulate how I go about presenting, and more importantly, you would be in a position to customize your pitch and presentation in a style that is suitable for you, right? So let's get started. I'm going to present this as the way in which I would present it to any client that I typically get connected with. All right. Good morning, and I'm Sandeep Rambatla. I head the entire digital learning space at Imaticus Game Studio. I have over 18 plus years of work experience, largely ranging in the business process reengineering, game design, and research space. Before I even get started and talk to you about the various offerings that we have at Imaticus, I would like to understand a little bit more about your current learning and business needs. That is going to give me the context as to what you've been looking for and what are the pain points that you currently have that you're willing to solve. If you could just quickly help me and articulate the business needs that you have and the learning needs that you have for this particular year, I could customize my presentation very precisely to suit some of the needs that you might have. So this is where the client goes ahead and then talks about their needs and presentation. And once I understand that, the typical way in which I would do is to summarize whatever I've understood and paraphrase that in my own language even before I start with the presentation. So this is how I typically tend to do it. Thank you, Sunil. Thank you so much for giving me the context of what you have been looking for in your organization. I understand that Aditya Birla, currently you're looking into standardizing your entire onboarding experience. You do have the existing process, which is extremely manual in nature, where when a new onboarding happens, you run them through various presentation. There is a lot of delays and a lot of logistical nightmares that you typically have, and that's something that you have articulated. Interestingly, Sunil, we do have a solution that would be a perfect fit for the problem that you just said. What I would do in the next couple of minutes is to quickly run you through a high-level capability of our platform and how we go about solving for some of the problems that you have mentioned. And I would deep dive on the employee onboarding solution that you just asked for. I hope that's perfectly fine with you. Okay, thank you so much, Sunil. Imaticus Learning has been one of the pioneers in the edtech space for almost a decade right now. At Imaticus Learning, we have multiple verticals, business to consumer vertical, business to academic verticals, and business to corporate verticals. So in the B2B space, we have multiple products that range from corporate training, digital learning, and talent solutions. And as the head of digital learning, today I would be walking you through the various facets of digital learning and what we do at Imaticus Game Studio. And if you seem to be interested in corporate training and talent solutions, I'll be more than happy to connect you with my colleagues and who would walk you through the offerings in more detail. So at Imaticus Game Studio, we typically build applied learning games, and these applied learning games are games that help you meet some of your training needs. For example, the moment a new employee joins your organization, in terms of a broader sense, you would have three specific needs. One is to help onboard the new employee to the value systems, ways of working, and the HR policies of your organization. The moment you have successfully onboarded them, you would now need to go ahead and then train them on various functional skills, which includes your product training, your process training, and a deep sales training to your sales functions. And the moment you have given them functional training, then you move up the entire ladder and then start training them on various behavioral skills, skill sets, which help them respect each other, understand the ways of working. It could be on DNI, it could be on POSH, it could be on communication, decision making skills. And more importantly, as they travel the corporate ladder, you would want to provide them various leadership training and business acumen skills. So today, our solutions are catering to each of these needs that you have, and we build upright, learning games. And these games are quite engaging and impactful, and we use various scientific and well researched pedagogical approaches like evidence centered design, epistemic frames to build our games. So today, our games are used by various corporates that range from both Indian and international clientele. For example, we have Swiss Re, which is one of the largest reinsurance firm, use our games. We have ESAB, again, a Swedish major on cutting and welding solutions. Corob, which is an Italian major into manufacturing. In the Indian corporate scene, we have Aditya Birla Capital as one of our prominent clients. So we work with all of these clients and we help them have an engaged learning experience through various products of us. The way in which we help our organization provide these training experiences are twofolds. We have a game-based learning division, which has about 35 employees specifically working on building game solutions, ranging from 3D designers, game architect, Unity programmers. And we also have an e-learning shop consisting of instructional designers and SCOM production artists who typically design e-learning courses. Within these two paradigms, we have custom courses, which means we understand your specific needs and build courses that meets your needs. Or we also have our own products and frameworks that we leverage to build these games and e-learning courses for you. Let me now walk you through one of our most proud and interesting platform that we have. Start on Board is the first game engine in the market, which allows corporates such as yours build and publish games all by yourself. You heard it right. You would be in a position to build and publish games all by yourself, leveraging the overall capability of the engine and give the standardization, scalability, and engagement that your end employees would need. The way in which it works is the entire engine has two components. One is the gaming engine, which your employees will use. So they would get transported to a virtual world of reality where they would experience, explore, make decisions, and understand the implications of their decisions in a virtual world. The authoring engine on the back end will help your HR administrators and HR managers manage the content, streamline the content, and publish content, as and when you need. So let's explain this and understand this through a simple, case study, right? So as I told you, the first layer, which is the gaming layer, which your employees use, what we have done is we have pre-built environments. So we have a virtual office, a virtual bank, a virtual retail store. We would also be able to customize the entire virtual space that we do for a couple of our, clientele, where we create your entire office environment in a 3D space. The authoring engine that we have built has multiple templates, which includes process templates, onboarding templates, sales templates. So based on your learning needs, we understand your content, and then our narrative designers would write the content to meet your specific learning needs. And we use the power of the game engine, such as the leaderboards, the points, and the badges, and create multiple learning paths. At the end, each of this is published specifically into different platforms that range from an Android, iOS. Interestingly, you would also be able to publish these games as a SCOM package within your LMS. Yes, you heard me right, where each of these games, rather than a standard e-learning course, you would be able to take a complete 3D virtual game and publish these games as a SCOM package within your LMS. Using this particular framework, we have 4 broader categories of our products. As I had mentioned, the first is the new hire onboarding. As when a new employee gets onboarded into the system, they virtually get teleported into an office environment that resembles your office environment, which means it would have the logos, the posters, the standees, the banners, which would exactly look like a replica of your office environment. So somebody who's joining in one of your remote branches today could virtually understand how your head office could look. They could interact with virtual avatars in this particular game to understand more about the leaders. So what you would be creating in essence is a mini metaverse where people could virtually get onboarded. And currently we are talking about the Gen Z who are born gamers. So this is an environment and this is an overall engagement that they would really love. After being onboarded, we use the same framework to actually provide your process and sales training. We have unique set of templates, and we would be able to mirror your existing processes within this particular game, so that tomorrow when you would like to have a process training at scale, when you would like to have refresher courses on your process and sales and your products at scale, this particular digital environment would allow you to do so. With the help of the authoring engine, you could keep the entire content up to date, where you will be in a position to modify and change this particular content. The third interesting platform is what we call as the Netflix of learning. Today, micro learnings are the order of the day. People do prefer learning on the go and having micro learning nuggets and components as a part of their overall learning journey. So what we have done is we have built a complete framework today, which helps organization create experiences which will help your employees reason and reflect some of these components that exist within the organization, so that they would be in a position to understand different people's perspective, and which will help them alter their schema, which will help them alter their behavioral dispositions. So our micro learning platforms and behavioral simulation platforms are used by various clients like Aditya Birla, Giant Eagle in the US, which is one of the retail majors, to name a few. We also have a multiplayer business simulation game to help your first-time managers understand and equip themselves with business acumen skills. This is a multiplayer game where individuals will don the hats of various business enterprises, where they would play the role of head of marketing, operations, and finance, and they would go and make decisions like how managers would do in real life and understand the implications of it. So these are some of the products that we have which are built behind the Start on Board gaming engine that I was talking to you about. I'll take a natural pause here to check and understand a little bit about what your interests are, and if there's anything that you would want me to deep dive and explain it to you in more in detail. Thank you so much. So what I would do is to quickly run you through each of these games in a little bit more context, and then deep dive on the new hire onboarding and then showcase a demo. So let's now look at these games as the games for the digital natives. And what we do is the new hire onboarding today starts as early as the pre-boarding phase, where when a new employee joins in, you could start engaging with employees as early as even once they've accepted the offer, right? So typically, the biggest challenge that most organizations face is what we call as a pre-boarding churn, where employees who accept the offer do not even turn up, right? So what we do is to have an engagement factor between the date of acceptance of offer and till the time that they join the organization. In this particular stage, the employees understand the value systems, the ways of working, the Friday funds that you have, and other initiatives that your HR run, which will help candidates make their decision to join your organization even post acceptance. Interestingly, we have what is called as a pre-boarding churn index, which will help organization understand the likelihood and probability if an employee who has accepted the offer would join or not. The next two phases are induction and the integration phase, where we walk in and provide an experience to help employees understand your HR policies, your functions, a lot more better. So this is a scalable solution. This has helped various organizations in a manner where employees who have gone through this particular game have shown better retention, of concepts that they've learned during onboarding. It definitely reduces attrition because they are more engaged in the entire process, and employees tend to become productive much faster because they have clearly understood how to get themselves integrate to the overall value systems and ways of working within the organization. The next interesting game is what we call the Sales Center of Excellence. The Sales Center of Excellence today has five integral components where when a new employee in the sales function joins the organization, we do an onboarding, which definitely talks about your company's values and products. Then we help them understand, your products and customer personas and customer needs through this particular platform. In stage three, we simulate a customer experience. So there is virtual simulation where employees would be in a position to converse, with various virtual characters and then be able to close the deal. And in stage four, we simulate your end-to-end sales process. So this could mean collecting documents from your customers, submitting documents, validating some of these documents that they've got, articulating your products much better, interacting with internal stakeholders, during the operations of the entire process, and finally communicating the end decisions to the client. So the game simulates an end-to-end, process. And finally, the game also measures the sales performance, within the context of the game in terms of how well your employees are performing. So the advantage of this particular platform is in an area where typically the sales function always grapples with higher attrition, you would be in a position to constantly engage and activate, your salespeople. The platform has multiple push notifications and various psychological nudges to keep your employees coming back to the platform and have a competitive learning experience. Process training is another interesting product that we provide to some of our corporates like Swiss Re and Aditya Birla Capital, where any new employee who joins in, the most difficult aspect is for them to understand the nuances of the process and the policies and standard operating procedures within an organization. So what we do is typically in large organizations, the way in which one understands process is through process shadowing. So we mirror that entire activity through this particular game where employees go ahead and learn processes through a process of process shadowing. They meet various stakeholders, they understand the input, the output, the cross dependency within various functional departments, and more importantly, understand the outcome and objective of each of the processes. So this is an interesting game where employees have found, we have done pre and post tests to understand, the retention level of processes, and our results are quite encouraging, where employees tend to understand processes far more better and understand exceptions and rules, through this particular game. The fourth important product is the behavioral simulation gaming framework. So this is what we call the Netflix of learning, where every periodic interval that is defined, it could be every fortnight or a month, you would have a new series, which is launched. This is a role-playing scenario-based game where employees today play the role of an investigative individual who understands and uncovers various incidents that happen within an organization. So these incidents could be, it could be a customer complaint. These incidents could be, let us say, a DNI incident in terms of a sexist remark. It could be a posh incident. It could be a decision-making incident. It could be an incident where they would need to provide feedback. So the entire game starts with a suspense event that has happened within the organization. And the primary objective of the player is to uncover this particular event and understand more about the different opinions, different predispositions, and different viewpoints of various stakeholders involved. So this is how individuals get to reason and reflect on various behaviors that happen within this scenario. In terms of business acumen skills, today our business acumen skills platform is used by companies like Roche in Switzerland for their first-time manager training. They've been using this particular platform for the last 4 years continuously, where they train their managers through this particular platform. And the same game is also used across multiple business schools in India as a part of their strategic business management course. So the primary intent of this particular game is to impart and measure the higher order thinking skills such as decision making, critical thinking, problem solving. The game could be used both in the form of an assessment center or in the form of a leadership training program. Uh, this game today simulates a manufacturing setup. The intent is not functional in nature. It provides you the experience where individuals could take decisions similar to how managers would take. So it's a business simulation largely focusing on the higher order thinking skills. So in a nutshell, our entire games focuses on engagement, flexibility, and scalability. It helps improve retention and it provides a active learning experience than a passive learning experience. So all of this ingredient helps us increase retention, increase productivity, and helps organization lower attrition in the form of higher engagements per se. So this is where we typically stop and we go ahead and then ask the client more in terms of what they feel and in terms of what is their specific requirement, and we walk them through this particular requirement. The objective of this particular presentation is we typically would like the business development colleagues to have this presentation to the client, walk the client through these products and explain these products in a manner in detail that I have done so far, so that the client could specifically ask for one or more than one product, so that the learning consultant, which is the second call that you might have with the client, we could actually deep dive and explain the products a lot more in detail. So just a quick recap of what we have done so far. We have the first of its kind game authoring engine. So Start on Board is a game authoring engine. It's not a product. It's a game authoring engine which allows us to author content and publish games in different platforms like Android, iOS, and LMS, where the game authoring engine allows us to create games that is suited for employee onboarding, sales training, process training, and behavioral simulation. So what you would need to articulate is and focus largely is the ability to create multiple game-based learning environments, and each of these learning environments are superbly customized to the client needs, and it is scalable and flexible because it is built using the authoring engine, and it is immersive because we are using the gaming in the front end. So this is something that you would need to articulate to your client, and the moment you articulate this to your client, we would be in a better position to understand their needs and then take the discussion to the next stage where we would showcase the products in far more detail. Thank you so much.